Third time's the charm.
Third time's the charm.
This is a show about neurotyping, about the workings of our psychology, a show about what it fundamentally means to be human. Our little podcast has grown and matured a lot over the past few millennia. We have been doing it like an ancient houseplant that is diligently watered and frequently spoken to for 3 consecutive hours, though we keep promising it will be less next time. I hope it has and will continue to age in the manner that is customary of people, repeating old mistakes again and again, but at a rapidly escalating scale. Welcome to the Neurotypeline. With me, Starbuck.
I am to blame this time, but not the last time. If we had just recorded it correctly the first time, this wouldn't have been such an issue. I'm Tarbuck Transom, your level 3 overseer, fast-talking craftsman, and indestructible super god. Your the firebrand with inner peace, leftist Jordan Peterson, and clout chaser eternal.
What you should know is that for the first 2 takes of this, he said level 1, level 2 respectively. It's just 1 level each recording of this episode.
I am the last living person who remembers the autism levels video because only I retain a copy of it as the person, because unbeknownst to the rest of you, I am also the Grand Proxenio of the Auriferous Hecate. I am the person in charge of the Beatrice archive, the Digi archive, the archive of content that was published under the name Digibro.
Yeah, 21st Century Digital Archive.
Yes, that's the one. I'm losing track of my own project. In order to complete that project, I'm having to learn Python.
Sounds awful.
Because my life is out of control. Oh, God.
And I'm Urcoy, your audiophile, phobe, and engineer.
With us is Gentle Anachronist again.
Yes, I am, as he said, Gentle Anachronist, airhead fascinator, class-specting pseudo-expert, and proto-enlightened post-nihilist.
Why artist? Wherefore based? I'm Oro, and I am so sorry for the chain of events that has led us to this recording. Sadly, my indiscriminate stone-throwing privileges have been revoked now that I too am no longer free of sin. This is the 3rd time we are recording this episode.
Yeah.
It is cursed.
First time was Oro's fault, indirectly. Second time was Tarbuck's fault, indirectly.
Oh man.
To blame directly.
The first time a guest crashed. The second time Audacity crashed. We are lost.
We are lost, wandering in the woods, seeking the truth of neurotyping for our salvation.
Do you remember the Void outtake? It's that, but all of us.
Okay. All right. So let's get into the Exi post Neurionics.
Now that we all hopefully understand it.
For the 3rd time. All right. We should be able to, we get better at this with practice, right? That's what happens?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
We are now 2 hours smarter than last time.
Okay, so turn your eyes to this chart, which looks like a Harlequin pattern that you would see on a clown from the days gone past. Which for some reason the idea of this as being clown related sticks around, even though clowns haven't looked like that in 2 centuries. I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, I should tell you right off the bat that this is a chart embedded within a wall of text. There's 10 pages of this shit, and it looks only half finished.
Yeah.
It is also...
It was finished at one point, and then half of another thing was checked onto it and never finished.
Yeah. It's a patchwork. Much like... So it's recursive. It's a fractal. The thing that's embedded into is a patchwork, and it is a patchwork itself. So you should not be trying to read this chart as though these are coordinates that mean something. These are just zones. It would be better if it were like a collected series of islands with bridges between them, like tree houses, like the place that the elves live in the forest, the elves of Lorien.
Please also just explain what it looks like, or more than just Harlequin patterns to the people who aren't looking at the screen.
All right, you do that. I'll be right back.
I can do that.
Oh, no, all right.
So describe the actual visuals of the chart, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a square within which are contained a series of triangles, 4 triangular quadrants, top, bottom, left, and right, which are compute on the top, order on the left, abstract on the right, and instinct on the bottom, which correspond roughly to the 4 quadrants of the neurotyping chart. But this is a slightly separate thing. Each of these 4 triangles is broken up into smaller triangles.
Yeah, 4 more again.
4 of them, yes. 1 for each. Basically, there is each of the all the triangles within a certain quadrant start with the same prefix, which is a letter. So O for order,
The
C
first
for
letter
compute.
of their,
Yes, yeah.
Dominion word, compute, order, abstract, or instinct.
And then the second letter is sort of a verb, which describes whether it is fully utilizing that quadrant or using a verb of the other quadrants. So, for instance, computing, abstraction, abstracting order, etc.
Right. We have a domain and an approach we take to that domain. So we might generally deal in abstractions, and then we might take an ordering, an abstracting, a computing, or an instinctual approach to this field. We are thrust into an arena of a certain topic and have to battle align what instrument do we choose. Do we just wail at it the instinctual way, or do we, I don't know, what even are the other options? I genuinely have no idea. How do you even kill a lion?
Yeah. I feel like this is a pretty good model of how you construct an identity. As I, the leftist Jordan Peterson, am fond of quoting from some other guy whose name I don't remember, you are what you do often. So you have something that you do a lot, and that molds your brain because your brain is plastic, and not just because you're cheap. You do something often, and it becomes ingrained into you, and you do that in a context. And if you were to change what you do often for long enough, or do it in a different context for long enough, you would be able to potentially like remold yourself into the best neurotype that you want to be, which is mine. It's the one that I'm in. It's overseers. Everybody should be an overseer. Is that why there's such a fascist bend in the purple column? Is because everybody should be me?
I mean, look at the chart. The purple arrows point to the right.
Perfect.
Wow. Also, this one was a novelty, but dear listeners, please play with us in guessing which of these jokes are recycled from previous recordings and which ones are new, because we do not have the mental capacity to come up with new material, obviously.
There is only so much you can riff on before
there's only so much cuff I can be off.
There's only so much guff to go around.
Yeah.
I think you can gauge based on the reactions which ones are recycled jokes and which ones are new originals.
Yes.
We are unlikely to laugh at a repurposed joke.
Well, now we might, in order to confuse and misdirect you.
I mean, speak for yourself. I'm not capable of laughing on command.
Just listen for the pain in our laughs.
Yeah, listen for the sound of agony in our laughter, and you'll know.
Listen for the judgmental silence.
I've got a couple images here that sort of like superimpose this onto the neurochart and showing that it's
the first one of these that you posted is perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, you can be anywhere in a certain quadrant and have your secondary, like, and the example here is abstract order. Both an overseer and new type can be abstract order. It's not like it's not just an advanced way of getting to these original squares on the neurotyping chart. It's
which is
its own thing.
Yeah.
In the first recording and the first half of the second recording, I was taking it as it's just a different way to describe getting into the exact space.
Yeah.
So
this is not a reskin.
Yeah. I thought that I would be abstract order and that Urcoy would be abstract as a result of him being, in the top right of the top right.
Right.
Right. This does not necessarily map onto neurotype. It can, doesn't have to.
And because it's different, that makes it interesting and worth evaluating on those features. I like this version of it. I don't think it's truer than the way that I was reading it the first time, but I do like it.
Of course not.
It's different, yeah.
I don't think there necessarily is metaphysical truth in these examinations. I think there's communicational truth there.
This is more about, this chart is more
You can be wrong, that's fine.
This chart is more of an approach as opposed to a location on spectrums.
Yeah.
It's a location in a quadrant combined with a directional, a directionally leaning approach.
Yeah.
But
It's
you
an
can be
approach
anywhere in
from
that
a
quadrant.
place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not about mapping yourself strictly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So overall, our feelings seem to be pretty positive on this, on Neurionics. Yeah.
Seems.
Neurionics.
Okay.
Yep.
Fun.
And
good.
then there is, we must give at least token mention to the absolute mangled mess of a
The squid chart.
the squid
Yeah.
chart, the Neurionics chart squashed into the shape of
Oh, yeah.
a
Yeah.
That's
this-
what
this
Tarbuk
was-
thought it was.
That's my original interpretation.
yes.
When actually
The-
it's the one underneath it.
Yes. The rotated square squashed back into a square.
Tabak originally thought it was 4 squid doing synchronous swimming.
Synchronized squid swimming.
Yeah. Right, and it turned out to not be that at all.
The bottom right one looks like Pikachu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It does.
Yeah, it does.
You know what they actually remind me of? Okay, have you ever broken open one half of a peanut?
Yeah.
You know how there's that little thing?
Yeah, yeah.
And it it's like they just, when adults would describe it to you as a kid, it's like Santa Claus in the sleigh, like the little head and the beard.
Mm. Yeah.
That's what this is. That's what those things are, these
Okay,
squids.
you lost me again.
The squids, the round things with the little bits poking out, those are the little part that sticks out on one, that breaks off on one side of a peanut half.
Okay, now I can see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the round thing in your face. You get sprung.
God damn it, go. I'm sorry.
The more we mess around, the more nervous I get. So let's keep going.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I ended the process and then relaunched it. I think we should be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should be okay.
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 Because that's the first time that I've ever encountered a stability issue with Audacity. We ought to be all right.
Okay.
I want to hit as much of my material as possible. So I'm just going to blast through it real quick. In the text part, you see lateral means complex again, which, lol, that's bad.
No.
It brings up the... somewhere in here, I got the idea of low-functioning linear people can't steer their train of thought, which does perfectly describe the low-functioning linear people that I know. Like having one train of thought that is just out of control and they're drug along with it and they can't help that, versus the low-functioning...
It flips over, goes up in flame.
Yes.
Oh no, we were transporting... initial explosives right now.
Yes, exactly.
Various cross-country mining operations.
That led us to low-functioning lateral, which is like the inability to even form a train of thought in the first place because you're so scattered.
Yeah.
We can't grab on.
There are
to
so many
anything.
points, you cannot necessarily find the way to make a cohesive connection between enough of them at a time to function.
Right.
I think your phrase for it, Gentle Anachronist, was locked in a train of thought versus locked out of a train of thought. And
Yes,
I really
yeah.
liked that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I said that or if someone else said that, but yeah, I like that.
It came
I
up.
don't know.
I'll claim credit for it.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a rare moment when I give someone else credit for an idea because I'm certain that I was not the one who came up with it. Just take it while you've got it.
Okay, far be it
Pass
from me to
quickly.
deny you your will. Thank
Yes.
you. Wow.
The description.
There's a less bad variant that isn't derailing, but it's just you're trapped in a trolley problem suddenly.
There you go. That's it. Oh,
It'd be very much easier if you didn't have the rails to worry about.
yeah.
Yep. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Reading the instinct paragraph made me feel like once again it's being implied that all of the linear sides are closer together, which reasserts my favorite pocket idea, the one that I came up with, the Tarbuck trapezoid. And I could just never let that go.
I could never grab onto it. I just don't know how to pick up a trapezoid.
all right.
It's such a weird shape.
The tarpezoid. We also talked about how computing is a bad word.
Yeah.
Because that's not why
Yeah.
computers work that way.
Oh yeah,
And we settled
networking
on
was our alternative.
Networking as an alternative.
Yeah. I think this was another gentle anachronist idea, which was renaming it the networking quadrant. I'm
that was
all
my
over
idea.
that. That was your idea. Okay, well, I'm
Yeah.
giving away credit for your ideas.
Well, I said quantifying, but then that didn't quite work. So
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I have
networking was our.
some other stuff I have worked on, which I guess we'll talk about another time. But yeah, networking is
Yeah.
from that.
I went on a rant about how computers in real life are actually just Turing machines, and it's like a tape
Yeah.
of something in a row.
It's
like
just like super fast, condensed linear.
it's the Platonic ideal of what an autistic person is, which is like order quadrant but more. And
and that leads us back to train autism. It's on tracks.
it's on tracks. Yes.
Which level 7 autism is Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yes.
All
Yes,
of them.
exactly. Perfect.
We got him.
And also, just in case it bears repeating, neural networks are not exempt from this. They are just randomized linearity.
Yeah, it's but what we're getting at with the computation metaphor, like any good metaphor, it's the gesture of the thing that we're trying to get at to communicate our understandings. It's
Right,
like the
yeah.
cartoon or anime version of what a computer
Yeah,
is.
metatextually it's fine because
Yes.
it was
Yes.
a system designed for anime. And
Right.
this is how computers work in anime.
And since a network transcends what a computer is, a networking is better, something like that. That
If you want to be more literal about it.
if you want to be more literal of that, like a categorical, then you can call it the networking quadrant.
It ties into a later post, which I will leave unnamed for the moment, but I'm sure you guys will know. Discrete parts connected as opposed to an amorphous cloud.
Yeah.
Networking versus abstraction. Although abstraction could mean something else. So
Also
Yeah.
kind of plays into hexagon theory. Remember hexagon theory?
Yeah, that was a good
hexagon
one.
theory.
Yeah, wasn't that a Roman thing?
It was a Roman thing that Timecake extrapolated on.
Okay.
I like the Roman version of it better. I remember his video explaining it was I think
Yeah,
the
the Timecake thing got a bit out of hand.
Okay.
Don't worry, we won't see more of that.
Are we moving on to my least favorite post?
Yeah, let's get to Timecake posts getting out of hand.
Yes.
Thank you to interrupting my transition with the transition.
The neurotype manifold.
Spin.
Okay.
All right.
So
yeah.
I hate this
So
post.
we return to the dendritic emergence double loop through the chart. You remember the double loop through the chart? We've explained this 4 times now. You should know what it looks like. It has an intersection somewhere in Human Calculator that isn't really an intersection because like you can't cross over and stay on the inner circle. You have to follow the whole path through. So he says, okay, where can we construct such a thing on a plane? How can we warp a plane to have this path in such a way that it doesn't actually cross? And he comes up with he doesn't come up with, but he chooses a 4-dimensional construct that is a square root plane. Draws the line on that and goes
it's
like...
the Riemann surface for
it is a Riemann surface.
it's a Riemann surface.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
for some reason,
Right.
even though
the square root of a Riemann surface, yeah.
yeah, even though you and Tolgi have both explained that at various times, I didn't get that there's more than one Riemann manifold before now.
Yes.
That's why I'm not a human calculator, I guess. Okay, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of things on here that look impressive, and if you'll remember the previous episode, there was a very understandable, pretty good thing where it looked like nonsense to Give and Take, Ben Saint, and Beatrice, and I was like, no, guys, there's actually truth underneath here, and then I tried to explain it to them, and then we look at this one. And no, there's not this time. Like last time it was good, and this time it's bad. There's nothing here. Like
Not this time.
all of this is just meant to justify the what if it was a continuous surface? How would you illustrate that?
Yeah. Also, what would it mean? As always, it is a problem to be quote unquote just asking questions, and this is just asking questions. It doesn't offer any solutions.
This one was invented by a writer. Not this time. We got you.
We made it up. It's pure
Not a
fiction.
chance.
False.
Yeah.
See, here you got a groan, even though it was a new joke.
Yep. You have the hollowed out core of the Enneagram, because if you shapes for long enough, eventually you'll cycle through all of the shapes that crystal people like and recognize as well.
Yeah.
This seems like a time cake move. They like sacred geometry and stuff like that. You got the Enneagram thing.
I wish the sacred geometry people would open like an inorganic chemistry textbook more often, because there are really cool crystal organizations that exist that just not very common, and they never draw pictures on those because they're very complicated.
yeah.
What I'm saying is get one of the interesting like complex crystal constellations that exist.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There are a lot of interesting ways to distribute charges across a grid. You fuck.
And there's this theory in here that's kind of like indirectly described how the hole in the middle of the tree of life is maybe where the neurotyping singularity is. Is that the crossover point? I don't know. I'm gonna highlight this fucking paragraph right here.
The zero discontinuity is not the crossover point. That's the gap in between the two circles in the pure and sync corner. That's what you mean?
Yeah, that is the yawning maw of the abyss. That's the that's the undefined space. I would like
that's
to
where the dark ones lie.
I would like to believe that is where the unconscious mind lives, if such a thing even exists.
That's where we draw from the collective subconscious. Freud was right all along. People shit on my boy Freud. They've never read any Freud. They don't know shit.
I shit on your boy Freud. It would be like.
No, don't get me wrong. You get to shit on Freud, but I hate when people shit on Freud when they don't know anything.
Oh, okay, that's different. All right, yeah, I'm shitting on Freud from a learned place. I hate that they spend that modern psychology classes spend half of their time talking about the old guys who have all been debunked, like Freud. It would be like if you opened up if you had an entire semester of a like pre-med class on anatomy, and they spent half the class talking about the four humors. Like that's the level.
I don't like the debunked thing, because sure, singular parts have been debunked, and there are some things about psychoanalysis being essentially unfalsifiable, which is sort of true. Mm-hmm. But you can still do modern interesting things with it. Like I it's fine when Eva Illouz also shits on Freud, because she's a psychoanalyst. She knows her shit. She's cool. She's good. Sometimes, not always. I don't avow everything. I don't avow everything Eva Illouz has said. But yeah, she gets to do that. She knows her shit. Other people don't.
All I know is that Freud has led to Jordan Peterson, which I hate.
Yes, same.
Through a horrible network of occurrences.
As we all know, guilt by association.
It's not called guilt by association. It's called guilt by inspiration.
It's a guilt by inspiration. Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna highlight this paragraph right here. Does this mapping imply that the 369 triangle corresponds to Chokmah, Bina, Keter triad? Both the triads remain invariant under disruption. Seems incorrect to map anything onto the upper triad given its implications. The tree of life is not a typology, so this mapping may be tenuous at best, but actually is arguably a typology of the Godhead, but let's not get into that. This is...
What?
This is developer's notes for a future time cake post that was published before it was ready. This is like chocolate lava cake. While it may be delicious to sink your teeth into if this is the kind of thing that you're into, this is a singularity of navel gazing in actuality. Fuck this bullshit. It's not ready. It's not ready for the limelight.
Yeah. Yeah, this is very much a note stock. If this was scribbled onto a piece of paper with like a lot of question marks and think more about this or get into this more, this would make sense. But it's just a bunch of, oh, here's a cool thing to maybe spin something out of, and then he just doesn't and goes to a different shape.
Yeah.
I feel like the phrase notes for a future time cake post has come up before in other time cake posts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's usually not the whole thing.
Yeah.
Laterality is when your whole life is one train of thought and everything spins off of everything else. So
he discovered a neurotheory, the margins of which this post are too small to contain. And then we go and we look at those notes, and it turns out it was nothing. Just like the proof was incorrect, in fact.
And then there's some weird symbology stuff in the corner, the bottom right corner.
Yeah, in the bottom right corner, you have like 4 domains pointing to the center which is not labeled. You have heaven above and earth below, and then space to the right and time to the left. And space is trees, which contributes bones. It interacts with the middle by bones. Trees are made of bones.
It's like bones.
Heaven contributes breath. Earth contributes flesh. Okay, I can kind of see how Earth is flesh-like. Time is cycles, which contributes blood. Is that because time was discovered to track the menstrual cycle?
I mean, if you are not familiar with trees giving you bones, you've clearly never been to Eastern Europe.
How about the dryad trainee? That's a tree who gives me a bone.
Oh no!
I really like slime isekai.
So I think the middle of this bizarre discretion, he does say, not sure why I put this here, from the language of creation, cycles plus trees equals spirals, ? I think the middle icon is meant to be humans. Like these are 4 symbolic components that contribute to the physical components of humans or something, or living things.
Yeah, like flesh and
weird.
blood, breath and bones. Those are the 4 elements. Until everything was fine until the Bones Nation attacked. My bones! The bone burning. No.
No. This also maps surprisingly well onto the aspects, the cardinal aspects, but I think that's just because they're probably sharing a basis with other things. So
yeah.
Well,
we forgot the bit about Enneagram. Timecake links the 421875 6-point cycle of the Enneagram, which also at one point has an intersection point, but has a clear order. So it's kind of the same thing you see as this double loop with also an intersection point that isn't really one. So it maps onto that, and then he wonders where the 369 cycle would fit. And it might just be on the flat plane that doesn't have to be warped in 4 dimensions, and then those might map into each other, and that might correspond to the relation between the individual and society. And blah. It's just asking questions. It's just, hey, here's an idea if you want to do something with it. Go off to do that. Yeah.
Oh, I do want to take this section that I'm saying right now out as a little insert to throw into the previous section where we were talking about that time cake post I hate. This post right here, this post this image is a perfect encapsulation of that post. It demonstrates that it has like on a local level, it makes sense. It seems like it makes sense as you're reading it, but when you zoom out at all, it like it falls apart. That's not a thing. That's not an object. It is the conceptual equivalent of an optical illusion. Thanks for that, Oro.
Oh yeah, it also ties back into remember the tactile thinking, a tactile seeing thing I talked about earlier.
Yeah,
where you can see in a tactile way where you kind of trace your eyes along the shape of a thing. In that way, it makes sense. But if you do actual seeing, sort of big picture seeing, doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
It also the image also is kind of a good representation of malfunctioning laterality.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like that.
There's kind of a lack of cohesion at the edges. Like you have pieces of things that make sense, but it just doesn't tie together properly, and it's really annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good explanation of that as well.
Back to a quote from a previous episode. No. Well, wait, fuck.
I'm sure we've said that at some point.
No, it's not.
Malfunction.
Something cognitive dissonance is a skill.
Yes, cognitive dissonance is a skill.
This is cognitive dissonance as an image. To save it as an actual picture in your mind, you need to be cognitive dissonant. Yeah, okay.
Yes. Before we move on, there's this feeling of profoundness that is all throughout a lot of time cake posts, and here we see that not every time does it actually apply. Sometimes it's just like divination, man. There's this thing that was discovered when people were looking into how neurons form thoughts. They like organize their connections to form shapes that have if you form a directed graph from these shapes, you'll notice a simplicial complex of a certain dimension. If you don't know what that means, a link in the description. The point is, when you're forming a thought, you create the connections that your brain creates are more integrated than if it was random. So thought is more than randomness. It is more. You form all of these integrated structures and connections, and then you dissolve them again. And when it all like breaks down and collapses, like a collapsing magnetic field, it produces the radiation that is your thought. All right, and then additional research found that taking certain hallucinogens like psilocybin mushrooms, for example. Forms way more, much higher dimensional simplicial complexes, which will give you that feeling of profoundness because it's interconnecting a whole bunch of the different aspects of your brain that normally don't talk to each other. This is good as like a reset or like a degaussing. Like you ever been around a cathode ray tube television or monitor and wave a magnet near it and it fucks up the colors, and so you hit the degauss and the whole thing like shakes for a minute as it scrambles. And it forms all the connections, and then it resets back down into correctness again. That's what taking hallucinogens is like, and that's why mushrooms can cure. A single dose of mushrooms can be a permanent cure for migraines and certain brain dysfunctions like depression. But it leaves you with this feeling of like a profound insight that isn't actually there. And that feeling of profound insight that isn't actually there, it doesn't actually amount to anything, that's what this post is. Fuck it, let's move on.
No, wait. One more point. Because I don't think it's worthless. Because sometimes you have ideas that you don't really know what to do with. It just feels like there's something there and you can't flesh it out. But it feels like someone else might. This kind of feels like, okay, here are things that sort of seemed like they somehow connect to me. I want to move on to something else because this is stuck in my mind. Here it is. maybe you can figure it out. And I tendentially like that because sometimes people might have fragments of ideas that they can't do anything with, that someone else might be able to bring to fruition, but might not have the impetus for. So it's good to just throw that out there instead of letting it languish and eventually die with you when no one ever figured anything out. It doesn't seem like anything got someone out of this, like anyone drew something profound in a later post out of this, but I appreciate the gesture. It might as well have led to something. You can't always know in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I guess,
in the comments, if you suddenly gained any profound insight that actually makes sense out of this post, let us know.
Yeah.
I guess that like, I want people to get something out of it, but like, it would be good if they did. I don't think they're going to be able to. Sometimes you try an exercise like that where you just get a thought out of your head and it doesn't go well. It doesn't do the thing that you want and it ends badly. And this is one of those times, I think. But you are correct in that the exercise itself is innately valuable, and I shouldn't be quite as negative, maybe.
Worst case scenario, you got a thought that was keeping you from doing other productive things out of your head. You've worried about it enough, you're like, okay, here goes, maybe someone else can deal with that. It's just getting rid of this. Again, just kind of hard resetting your brain, okay, I can focus on something else now. So even if no one else does something with it, you did something good for your own productivity, maybe. Yeah.
Nobody give this guy a copy of Ars Geisha, though. Like, that would be way too much. Like, if you give Time Cake Hermeticism, I think we're going, like, all of this fuckery that's happening right here is going to get even worse. Relatedly, because I keep bringing it up in both previous recordings, did you, listener, know that Aleister Crowley and L. Ron Hubbard and the founders of Jet Propulsion Laboratories were all roommates for a while? Like, people you wouldn't expect to know each other. That makes the top of my short list.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had more to say about that in the past, but it's a fucked up history, and it's why
we talked about internal beef between occultists and such.
Yeah. Anyway, that's why there were hermetic runes and stuff written on the inside of the space shuttle and the moonlander and things like that. And they were trying to contact interplanetary demons. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, other people who got along really well, that you might not have thought so. Walt Disney and Werner von Braun, the guy who built the V2 rocket.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was even in, like one of those shorts.
Oh, yeah, he was going to make some productions for Disney, yeah.
Yeah, he did multiple
smaller things but
for
he
Disney.
Was going to do something bigger, yeah.
I hate Disney.
The whole like runes on the inside of spaceships thing is totally like, I feel like the essence of what the SCP universe has become is built on that.
Yeah, it's one of those things that sounds like it would be dumb and fake and made up by conspiracy theory nutters, but like occasionally those guys are right, like with MK Ultra and Jeffrey Epstein and like all of that shit is stuff that I've been saying forever and people dismiss me for it. But sometimes these things that are not supposed to be connected actually are. What I'm telling you is to do drugs. Don't do drugs, kids.
Once the rockets are up, who cares where they come down? That's not my department, says Werner von Braun.
Damn.
Children only wanted to play with space toys. That was... Never mind.
You have my personal endorsement to throw Molotovs at Nazis. All right. So, after...
Speaking of hot things.
Speaking of Molotovs...
Now let's get away from...
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that is... That is kind of impressionist territory.
Yeah!
It is!
New insight. Okay.
All right. Mindspace visualization by hound dogs.
This is the best post.
I liked your rundown last time, so just do it again.
All right. So the mini mind spaces that can connect and overlap. You get this like platonic ideal of a chemistry set that you remember from when you were a kid, with all the tubes and the bubbles and the many different things that they're in.
Wait, this is high lateral.
That's high lateral. All right. Then down to contrast that, at the bottom and linear in the middle, you've got fewer, more closed-off mind spaces, symbolized by many mixed drinks. The number of mixed drinks will be the number of thoughts that you have, but they're like discrete packets.
They're separated. They're not interconnected, right? They're discrete.
Yeah. There's no connection between them. They're mixed together and they're good there. Then you have on the categorical side, you have solid thoughts connected to make up an idea. One could individually point to each one of these and individually remove it or add new ones. Do you have any guesses? It is a glass full of ice cubes. Isn't that great? And then on the opposite side, you have an electric kettle. You are like the steam and also the boiling and stuff. The idea fills and is synonymous with its mind space. It is almost impossible to separate it into its original components. This preserves the the intuitive nature of the hot-cold dichotomy.
We've seen a lot in.
Yeah, it comes up over and over again, and then in the middle you have thoughts merge when they touch. You have a glass of water. You need to move the container in order to move the idea. That is the true centrist. There is so much truth in this post.
Yeah. Yeah, like when everyone was gushing about the fuzzy balls theory, and I really like the fuzzy balls theory. I like that I can refer to it as the fuzzy balls.
Much I can hope.
This to me is this is the one neurotyping post that explains everything. Definitely every person on the planet could look at this for a second and immediately understand every single nuance of neurotyping.
Yes.
I believe that.
You get it. Yeah. You get it, and you're able to apply it pretty intuitively. Like, people who contributed good examples last time. Do we want to talk about those? Go ahead.
Yeah. So one thing that I like about this chart is that it really highlights the strengths of linear thinking in that each individual drink in this analogy is a very cohesive, well-formed individual sort of experience, so to speak.
It's artistically arranged within itself.
What's that?
It's artistically arranged within itself as a full experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the strength of linearity is that you can.
They are prepared for quick access. You can just grab the class, drink it. Whereas you would have to go through quite a bit of trouble to disassemble any one idea from the chemistry set and put it to use.
Yeah, and I think in general the cohesiveness of the whole thing lends it to actually be much better at tackling certain things.
Yeah.
Like there are certain things that linear people are just going to be better at doing because you kind of have to go at it with a very single-minded, straightforward, very fine-tuned approach.
Yeah. It perfectly clarifies the interconnected versus disconnected dichotomy. It also preserves the hot and cold intuition that we have about categorical versus impressionist with the ice cubes versus boiling and vapor. And you had a really good insight about vape pens as a result of that.
Yes, yeah. First of all, I should mention that the linear lexical corner, the bookkeeper corner, Tarbuck mentioned as like ice pops, like popsicles, whatever.
Freeze pops.
They're
the fancier variant, which is ice sculptures of your face.
Yeah. Frozen, flavored, or artistically comprehensive or cohesive, whatever the word.
Freeze pops.
Yes. And then on the other side, in the pure instinct corner, we would have vapes, because you have flavored vapor, which is geared to be a very specific experience.
You also would have Reed Roman lunging at you with a bucket of boiling water.
As frightening as that image is, I kind of want to experience that just for the novelty.
There is value in terror.
Yeah. Tell us in the comment if you want Roman to lunge at a bucket of boiling water.
Me. I would like that.
And then for the Lex corner, or sorry, I keep using lexical, and I forget that categorical is the sort of
The lat cat.
the lat cat, the top left
The
corner.
lat cats.
What did we were talking about?
It's like snow.
Snowflakes, human calculators are snowflakes.
Yeah. I know some human calculators, and they're snowflakes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this episode,
Lat cat kind of sounds like old American gangster slang.
it does.
What?
Lat cat.
Lat cat. It does.
If you're listening to this episode and you know who you are, I really want you to finish that article about being a snowflake and everything. If that could come out so that I could link it and show how those are related, that would be very nice.
I shoot those lat cats with my gat gun.
A lat cat gat it. I chose...
then we were having trouble with like the lateral impressionist. I guess something.
Yeah. There is kind of a lack of any distinctive separate, like there's the chemistry set. I think we were leaning towards the image of a distillery, but that feels not quite complete, but that's at least
Close
in the
enough.
sort of fascinator region.
Right.
A distillery
and you
would
had a
probably make
particular
sense.
chemistry tool that none of us had ever heard of.
Oh, a SOX extractor, but that's more my aesthetician impressionist region because it's not that many vessels. It's like 2 vessels above each other.
Mhm.
It's a thing where you put some solid into a test tubey looking thing. You have a bowl of solvent below that, and the solvent boils off through a tube, is recondensed above the thing you want to solve something out of, flows onto that, goes through fills up that space until a siphon point is reached. It siphons off back down to the lower flask, and something of the lower flask is boiled off again. Obviously, the thing you just dissolved out doesn't vaporize again, hopefully, if you've chosen your things correctly to use this machine with. So just the solvent boils back off again, leaches something out of the thing you want to extract from, and goes on and on. It's a nice solvent-saving extraction apparatus. It's very, very cool, very nice chemistry tool. Yeah.
Cool.
There's an image of how SOX extractors work on screen right now.
That's how it works.
That's my fluid network system neurotype. That's how ideas work. It's literally extracting ideas. This is how it works. This is how it visually works.
And then other images I found a very Pinterest-looking fancy distillery, which Oro said was for some sort of gin, possibly.
I think it's for gin because it has a sort of swelling at the top of the leftmost flask that looks like there would be the herb basket, which is how London Dry gin is made. It's distilled in such a way that only the steam is ever in contact with the botanicals, and then it's distilled over there, and you don't add anything afterwards. That's where the distinction London Dry comes from. You can only call it London Dry gin if you do this specific mechanism, and it looks like it has that.
I didn't know that was even possible to like flavor something by passing vapor over it and condensing the vapor.
Yeah. I mean, alcohol
really
is very
fucking
good
cool.
at dissolving, especially if it's hot, especially if it's vapor hot.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then Urcoy had some sort of bizarre,
a funny-looking
fancy
coffee maker.
Yeah.
Yeah, a funny looking coffee maker. What we don't know how it works.
that is uranium coffee.
Yeah.
It's a uranium coffee maker.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel uplifted by this image. It is such a breath of fresh air, whereas the previous post made me feel like I was being waterboarded.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, waterboarding would be somewhere around understanding, wouldn't it?
This is not a
you.
chart of torture methods. Let's not get into that.
That's another crime chart, but worse.
Yeah. The crime chart 2, the torture chart.
Oh no. Disavow too.
Crime chart 2, electric charaloo.
I did not like that laugh Tarbuck just made. It sounded way too villainous.
Well, what can I say? I used to be a bad guy. I actually did, though. You can maybe hear more about that in the Royal Rumble that I was a part of. Possible link in the description. I recorded it at AnloCon. I don't know if we're being public about that.
Want to have another uncomfortable idea? The human body is technically a fluid vessel system. Neurotype it.
Oh no. That's pretty warm.
We can literally determine what is the natural human neurotype, and everyone
Yes.
who does not fit this very restrictive standard is obviously lesser.
And that's why.
I want to say it's probably okay. So high complexity, liquid. So not extreme left or right.
Ton of fucking vessels, very interconnected.
It is. So probably top lat. So it's either fascinator or analyst, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of warm. It's probably closer to fascinator.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like this.
No.
Kith Croker.
Oh.
My body is supported by a system of fluid-filled bladders. I don't actually have bones.
Wow. Anyway, let's crash this train and get back to
Let's crash this train of thought and
So
get back to
next
the
we have
tragedy
a deleted
that is
post.
this missing post.
Hello, I made a Clearsighted document. You might think it's sucky, but I like it, by Bomi, and they sadly deleted the document. So maybe there will be some footage from the deleted episode that isn't actually gone spliced in here, or maybe are vague remembrances of it that we will reveal now will make up for it.
This is going to be an editing nightmare.
Yeah. I'm very
I've
sorry.
been in a nightmare for 2 weeks straight.
Alright. So this was a 20-page or so, in parts very small font explorations of the Clearsighted neurotype. A criticism we had originally was that it felt very personal, very much
Overgeneralizing
sort
one
of
person's
projecting
experience.
yourself, onto everyone. But it was still very nice because it kind of felt that, okay, I'm just throwing everything that pertains to me that others might be able to relate to out there, so we can all draw connections each other and sort of figure stuff out collectively. So I quite liked that. It was very nicely written, very nicely formatted. There was a lot of iconography and a few charts and frilly sort of decorated in part colored text. Looked very cute. Looked very nice.
Mm-hmm.
It had a very nice metaphor about how there is a distinction between the fashion stylist, the
fashion designer versus the fashion stylist.
Fashion designer, fashion stylist, and one other one might have been model or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Yeah, but definitely like the fashion stylist is the Clearsighted, in that they take these things that are pre-assembled and put them together in a way that generates a whole complete work of art. And the idea is very juxtaposed to what Beatrice was thinking about with the author is all that matters, all the art is kind of a projection of the author, personal experience is very relevant to everything, where Bomi put it as the body is merely a vessel to present a work of art.
The meme is the message.
Very much liking fashion that you can kind of hide behind to truly become the thing you are presenting. and have very little direct input through yourself, you being merely the assembling entity, the stylist. Which I at least very much liked as a metaphor for how millennia people can interact with art and with other things in general. There was some kind of things we very much didn't like, which we refer to as neurophrenology, which went into how...
you should be able to tell like a clear-sighted person on sight because of the shape of their face and skull and stuff.
Yeah, right. There is a very much softened jaw shape to the clear-sighted person. They have a smooth, high brow ridge that is not very pronounced, and a stubby nose. Also, their voice tends to have a soft kind of whispery quality like this. That's not the kind of energy we necessarily want to put into the world. It kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's bad, but there were nice points in there, and it definitely wasn't coming from a malicious place.
Oh, I remember one other thing that I did like about this post. I think there was something about how Clearsighted is sort of like they likened it to like a kindergarten teacher, which to me kind of ties into how the purple column feels very much like the column that can take concrete things it's a good midpoint for average people to understand things in a sort of smooth way. I'm struggling to put this into words, and then I think the level of complexity or like how fine-grained do you want to be, the further up you go, more lateral, which does not, again, this isn't a lateral people are smarter. The good approach to like the most linear purple column explanation kind of thing, as in a kindergarten teacher, is being able to explain things in a very easy to digest, like you get it right away, and it's not entirely, and part of it is being able to communicate impressions in a comprehensible way.
Yeah.
Like putting vibes into words.
Yeah, and in a way that can tie into something in the world, I guess, that's more concrete.
Can you tell from how our discussion has smoothed out and stuff, and we sound less exasperated at the whole affair, that we have passed the point where we got in our previous recording? And half an hour sooner, actually. So that means we cut out about 30 minutes of bullshit.
Yeah, I was gonna
Nice.
say we really we trimmed it down. This is a speed run. Actually, well, we're about 10 minutes below, I think.
We hadn't talked about this post much at all.
If you think this is a sign of things to come, that we will from now on always streamline this by pre-recording conversations.
Fuck no.
No.
There is nothing less pleasant than realizing that the last hour and 15 minutes of you talking has been completely wasted, and
nothing could ever make me go through this ordeal.
All your genuine reactions have been lost to the void. Now you have to do it again without the novelty of a first time recording.
I have to listen to Tarbuk
It
again.
sucks.
And have to listen to me again. I can't talk for a long time, can I?
Hey, Godwin.
All right.
I made a whole video about how the looping record of culture is the worst thing that exists, and we literally did it. So,
Chef's kiss.
And we are going to mercifully prevent you from having to experience that same thing.
Yes.
All right. Heat map, chill map. The opposite of a heat map is a chill map, and that's what this is. The post is called Scouring This Absolute Hell Site for Neurotypeline Content. First mention of us as the headline for this thing. Scouring this absolute hell site for Neurotypeline content, as I am forced to, I realized that apparently no one ever posted a heat map of how well they typically get along with other types, which is a shame. Here's mine from a while ago. Excuse the heterodox color scale. Blue means good. I like this. I like this a lot.
Yeah.
It feels inclusive the way that it's presented. Do you agree? Like they colored it for people like us, but also there's scores on it for people who are not like us, the categorical types.
They colored it, Ouroborista.
I mean, to be fair, I did the numbers. I did the numbers first, and then I was like, okay,
I forgot you
wanna...
made this.
Yeah. I was wondering if you were playing up to some kind of big reveal. Of,
No, every time I
this is
forget
mine.
that you made this.
Yeah, that happened
Yeah.
the other recording too. The first one.
Yeah.
No, I was first just thinking about this thing, put the numbers, then was like, well,
That's ugly. You're ugly.
I kind of want more resolution in there and made it a heat map. And I'm really glad with how it turned out. I think this looks really pretty and a lot more so than a lot of heat maps do.
Yeah, a lot of heat maps
Not
look kind of
to
like
toot my own horn, but I think this is very pleasant to look at.
a lot of heat maps that get posted look like fucking like they were made on Newgrounds
Yeah.
from back in the day.
Yeah.
And honestly, mine would have looked the same if I wasn't like, okay, what's the minimalist approach? I'll just fucking take the neurotyping chart and I'll fill the squares with a bucket tool. And it works. Yeah.
Bouquet.
A bouquet tool.
Bouquet.
A bucket of boiling water.
Yeah, boiling hot bucket of paint.
Yeah, GIMP can do everything Photoshop can, but better and for free.
Boiling water for your enemies. Cold water for your friends. Sorry, what?
Yeah. Now, I can sort of like I've made one here, but like I mentioned in the first recording,
everyone who made one.
Yeah, I mentioned in the first recording that my mind would change on this like pretty much, I don't know, every week or so, maybe even every day. And I had the thought today that like, wait a minute, I'm kind of really annoyed by aestheticians a lot of the time. There are many times where I'm like, okay, you're like me, but you're putting this weird like limiter on your ideas and not going any further. It's like frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah, I forget. Did you? Yeah. Yeah. There's the heat map you posted. It looks like a face.
I was gonna say it looks like a face.
Yeah.
Purple gang.
I mentioned this in the very first recording. I don't know if I did here, but Bomi's original Clearsighted document also had a paragraph on how the type she gets along with least is aestheticians, and she had already deleted that by the time we got around to reading that. I just remembered that
Yeah,
bit.
it was a different version of the
document. Apparently she just regretted it because she felt it was mean, or she maybe redecided. I thought it was very insightful, like how the interactions between neurotypes work out, or at least for her personally. I think that even was one of the things when I originally read that inspired this chart.
it's like the Clearsighted would be annoyed with the aestheticians kind of like perfectionism, I guess, and being like really picky about the details of how the image is crafted.
Yeah, also what she was talking about in school, kind of people perceiving this fashion stylist attitude as sort of shallow.
Yeah.
Which to her came mainly from that abstract quadrant corner.
Mm-hmm.
People would go like, oh, this is superficial, whatever. That's dumb, I don't like it.
Yeah. Now, if you're really loud, you'll
yeah.
realize superficial things are actually cool.
I hope she's okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully they are. Yeah.
We talked about this in the deleted portion of the previous recording, but that is to say, it was deleted. She was like driven off the internet or something like that. She's gone now. Hope she's.
They said they were
right.
like frustrated with Discord stuff and just wanted to interact with in the real world, not so much on, I guess specifically the neurocord, because it's like. Nobody really liked them there.
That seems like a very clear-sighted reason to take the break. Support. Yeah. Our heart goes out to you, friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that I talked about this in the first recording is that this is in general, like that if you are a contemplative, we could definitely get along, even though it has the lowest score of any of these. This is sort of just stochastically, out of all the people I meet in my life, how I generally would type them and would get along with them. Actually, a few of my best friends are in types that I tend to get along with badly because they are the people who actually can communicate with me in a way that I enjoy greatly, and they can present ideas to me that I normally wouldn't listen to because I generally don't like the people who are in that sort of square.
Yeah.
Like my very best friend is human calculator, maybe leaning analyst. When human calculator gets a 3 here, like very low score indeed.
This is a good example of that old truism. Rules are really more like guidelines than actual rules. Be gay, do crime.
Yeah.
Your heart fiddle-dee-dee. It's never mind.
I remember doing some kind of like get along with type post where I typed in text blocks of color. Was that a previous episode?
I don't know. I think Tolgi.
Oh no, and that was the first recording of this episode.
Yeah,
Colin linked a post from Neurocord where Tolgi and I don't know, maybe
I think it was Hennels.
Yeah, I think it was Hennels.
Yeah, they did like each one. They sort of
did these text posts.
Yeah,
right?
they first they did numbers, but
it.
then they did like colors.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of where. Like, I definitely responded to that, but where? Oh, right.
Yep, got it.
It's way up there.
Yeah, I posted it again.
Okay, thank you. I just suddenly passed the names for Urcoy's liquefied chart with like Senate, liquid gold, burgundy.
Oh yeah,
Laville 99, etc. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to post that one too. There's so many things.
I have lost track. I've never been, probably due to my lack of ability to categorize things in neurotyping terms, I've kind of never really thought about, like, well, I'm just bad at quantifying things, really. Like, putting things on a list of 1 to 10. I do much better with kind of yes or no rather than, like, pick a number. I'm not that specific. So I've never really tried to make a heat map of, well, anything really, but
yeah.
Oh yeah, it's kind of, I do a similar thing. I find it very hard to just make lists off the top of my mind. Usually I go, okay, what's the best and what's the worst? And then I put those, strike them from the list, and then repeat that process. Then I look at the whole thing and switch those that I feel like ended up wrong in the final thing.
Okay.
So like, yeah, I
Makes
originally
sense.
did the numbers, which are far fewer, and then I kind of filled in the spaces in between. Like I assigned each number a color, and then sort of followed the contours to make it into a heat map.
Well, I do have trouble being specific. This is something I want to tie into the Trixie episode, hopefully, when we get to that. But I found I actually do better if I go like use like a very small or a very fine like percentage or something instead of like the bigger blocks I'm working with, I guess, the less sure I am about something. Like if something is like a 7, like I can't decide if it's like a 7 or an 8 out of 10, for example. That might bother me for a while. But if I just say it's like, I don't know, like 76% or something, that might not be literally accurate to how I feel about it, but it is way better than agonizing over a 7 or an 8, because it is just in between.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know that I can be super specific, but using specificity kind of helps me actually be more nebulous.
Yeah.
Looking at the get along chart that you posted a link to, the one that was from the human calculator chat in the Neurocord, I really, really, really like this format, and I want to spotlight it because of how much I like it, because of just how accessible it is to be able to just like paste down some squares in a Discord message and hit send, and now you've got a graph. No opening other shit, none of that.
Yeah.
Just do it. I thought I had made one, but I guess not, because I can't find it.
Yeah, I mean, just do before coincidence with the audio, and it will be on screen.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I had already made one on the show, like during the recording while what's his fuck was going on about it ain't bullshit. I hate that guy. I thought I had made one, but apparently not.
Yeah, I don't remember that, so probably not.
Maybe I only considered it, and because I have such a vivid imagination, I convinced myself that I had done it. Aren't I wonderful?
Concept topologist indeed.
I think the comment chain that Tarbuck and Oro have here kind of speaks to how I feel, where it's like it's hard to even think of 16 kinds of people.
Wait, let us read those in character.
Yes, okay, go ahead.
This post is great, and I can't wait to talk about it on the show. I personally haven't ever seen this idea before, but it seems like it would be really easy to discover. I don't know. Genius, though. Big approve. I am expecting a lot of unfinished charts because meeting 16 people, 16 different kinds of people is hard these days, and for most people. Hell, these days meeting 16 people is hard for most people.
Yeah, I want to see more of these. Is meeting 16 types of people difficult? Most people go to school or work. There's a lot of that's a lot of connections down, plus family, maybe some sort of social hobby, and not even to speak of the unlimited access to humanity the internet provides. Sure, you won't have close friends of every neurotype, but you'll probably have experiences interacting with a few of each. And I stand by that.
My counterpoint to Oro's comment is I don't really think in terms of neurotyping enough in my daily life to like categorize all the people that I know. And there's a lot, like there's so much that has escaped my memory that would be useful information for that. And I'm like, I don't really know. Like I'd have to sit down with all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely plays into the Vic idea of modes. I definitely can't speak to the quintessential character of everyone interacted with, but I can class most interactions I have on what neurotype this person was mimicking at the very least in order to facilitate this interaction. And I can then judge how smoothly that interaction went and how much I enjoyed it.
I think it's not a trivial thing to know somebody, even through their actions, well enough to be able to type them. Because I think most people don't pay that much attention because they are stupid. And I think most people just, like they're just not... You're overestimating people's capability in general.
Oh, I'm not saying that everyone... Obviously, not everyone neurotypes every person they interact with. I don't. Honestly,
no, I mean...
Neurotyping is kind of silly for the most part.
Yeah,
and
that's
don't... Yeah, don't do that. Don't reduce people to that. But in retrospect, I can kind of go, oh, this was a cool interaction I had. Wait, what mode was this person using? If I remember the conversation enough, I can do that. So it at least left some sort of permanent impact on me. I have enough of those, usually.
Yeah, but you're like a real boy. You think deeply about things and you pay attention to people and stuff. I think that is the thing that I think is unusual.
Yeah, no, of course. Empathy powers are rare.
Yeah.
No, wait. They're not rare. They just require training, like everything.
Yeah. Well, they're rare because they require training.
Yeah, of course. You don't meet that many black belts in the art of understanding people and being a good boy.
Yeah. Another thing I have here is, in order to meet somebody of every neurotype, you don't have to, it's more than 16 people you have to meet. You have to go through a lot of people because a lot of them will have similar neurotypes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What I was going to say is, I think, especially nowadays with the amount of data that conversations involve, just because of the existence of the internet causing, I think, the general data quantity of conversation to go up. That might not be true, but it feels like it. Either that or everyone's interacting with the internet so much that like data has filled our brains, and it's harder to track people. At least for me, it's harder to really track people's behavior in context to other people because I'm usually just kind of busy talking to them.
Right, we interact. Which is okay, yeah. Let's just do this convo again because it's interesting. We interact a lot more with kind of personas that people put on because they don't get the power of the internet. They don't get that the internet provides them an option to be their real self without consequences. They just try to be cool regardless in a way that is socially understood and that they are comfortable with, which is dumb. Stop doing that. And in the same breath, it's very easy nowadays to, not only nowadays, but more so, to find kind of circles that very closely align to what you're kind of looking for. If you can easily find Discord communities that are just new typey fascinatory schizoid posting.
Yeah.
The Megazord.
The thing is, these people, for the most part, have jobs. They don't want you to know that, but they do. They have lives outside of that. They have different modes they are capable of interacting with. So we're kind of presented with this, again, very anime, very characterized understanding of humanity. And we actually think that people fit these boxes because people, for some fucking reason, think they should wear masks on the internet, which is... I don't like calling people stupids, but you are literally an idiot if you do that.
Yeah, I'm at this weird moment in thinking about the internet because I know that a lot of it's heavily tied into this DWK video. Or, no, he doesn't go by that anymore. DWK is when he makes pony content. His new channel is called Absolute Unit. It's about the insane way that people use the internet now and how it's utterly incompatible with people like him and people like me. I 100% agree with this video, which is like they put their...
Wait, I don't know what the video is. Link it, please.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I can put it in the description, please.
They put their real information, like how to find them and harass them and stuff online, and I think that's an insane thing to do. But they also don't embrace the cloak of anonymity that they have easy access to in order to be their real selves, which is equally bonkers. I think, like...
All right, wait. Let me quickly play devil's advocate for the dumb shit idiot character I just invented. Because there is a certain value to be able to use the internet to play a character that you don't know yet you are fully comfortable with. Just try to live in their skin for a bit and do that. That's fine. But those should only be moments in time by the very nature of this experiment. The problem is that people do this permanently.
So I feel like my superpower, the thing that makes me exceptional above all other people, is that I can be my authentic self online while also putting my signature behind it and then carry that over into my regular civilian life and be that guy, like my unrestricted self, to other people in person.
Yeah.
Which to most people is terrifying.
Yeah, obviously you can never be all aspects of yourself. People are too complicated for that. That's fine.
You can't be all parts of yourself at all times because some of those parts are contradictory.
You are many-fold and diffuse. Yeah, you contain multitudes. Everyone does. We are not cartoon characters. People are not cartoon characters. The internet wants to convince you that they are. People want to convince you that they are. They are not. They are a bullshit hive of incompatible ideas. Everyone is.
I think partly we experience the world that way, like there's too much of us to be all at once because we are lateral people. I actually do believe that more linear people are just a single crystallized persona like a cartoon character. I'm very willing to believe that people are different.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. There is some strength to that, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You don't get you don't have conflict. You don't have crisis of identity every 3 months.
Yeah, sure.
I don't have crisis of identity ever because all of the parts of me in any configuration are awesome.
Good for you. You're not a top layer. You wouldn't get it. No.
Oof. Well, maybe
I'm
if
sort of
you
joking.
just put in the work to make all of the parts of yourself awesome, like I did, then it wouldn't be such an issue. Ooh, like I am only a stone's throw from Top Lat.
Yeah, you have a point.
Right. And Tabak still has... No, wait, he deleted the second episode. Tabak also no longer has a stone-throwing privilege.
Disavow. Not true. Because your stone throwing privilege was due to a miscalculation on your part, and mine was an external technological failure that I didn't have anything to do with.
Yes.
Yeah, you tried to throw the rock, but you got an arm cramp.
Yeah.
At the last
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you not think that it might be the universe punishing you for some sort of sin? Let me just spitball here. Hubris, perhaps.
It's not hubris when the gods do it.
No, of course not. Are we done with the liking people post?
You better be.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about it.
All right.
Yeah.
Last Kinosaur. Impressionistic people like bad things.
Yes.
I feel like this is representative of me.
Wait, my cat is meowing. Yeah. So the idea of the post is that he liked a piece, they liked a piece of media despite it having flaws that were obvious to them. They could get something out of it, some very important concept, and like, okay, I get that this is badly executed. Of course it is. But I still got the idea, as I get what it's trying to say, and there's value in that inherently. Yeah. And they think that lexical people usually have more of a focus on the polish of a piece of media and need that more to actually extract the idea.
Yep. That order quadrant friend of mine who I keep beating up on, I'm not every single time that I complain about order quadrant people, but a lot of them, really requires a certain kind of polish in order to be able to enjoy anything, which is very frustrating to me. Because it means that there's a whole bunch of stuff that he'll never engage with or like never get the good stuff out of. Like Life is Strange, because he can't get to like he can't get past the surface elements, because if it's not polished, then it's not acceptable. And I just like I immediately knew that this post was for me because, yes, it is true. I do like bad things because I can see things for how they could be. And that's the thing that I'm enjoying. It's why I like, it's why I watch so much of the CW show Arrow. It is hot garbage, but I can see what they wanted it to be. And that's what I'm actually experiencing while I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can make... I guess it's more like complete versus incomplete ideas. Like, there's a lot of incomplete ideas that are gesturing at something much bigger, and that's, it's hard to complete those sorts of things, I guess. Like, or at least in that certain way, like in a technical sense.
Sometimes the incompleteness can be inspiring, in just as an observer or a consumer of the art, that it makes you kind of, you fill in the blanks, and whatever you fill in the blanks with is particularly satisfying.
Yeah.
And it makes the media feel more tailored to you because you're literally participating in making part of it.
Yeah, and I feel like there are two versions of this, of things being bad. One is the idea wasn't fully fleshed out, which sometimes might be a feature of just not having thought through it enough. Sometimes it's a feature of you actually extrapolating things that the author didn't get into. That doesn't mean that they weren't complete. Maybe they brought it to conclusion for themselves. Doesn't quite matter. Oftentimes you get this feeling with media that is more interested in asking questions of you, forcing you to consider things that you wouldn't otherwise, and not necessarily delivering you the answer. This is the second time in the Neurotypeline that we will tell you watch Nana, because Nana does this. Nana is about asking questions of how how do social fields work? How do we interact with people? What is the purpose of our relations? And so on. It doesn't give you an answer. The different people in there have different answers, and none is kind of presumed correct. And a lot of media does this. This isn't an exceptional thing. It happens a lot. But usually if the thing itself is polished, we can kind of see that, oh, it's interested in asking questions. It didn't draw to conclusion for a purpose, because it doesn't want to tell us what's right. It wants us to think for ourselves what's right. Which is cool and good, obviously. I think the thing people mean more with bad media, or media that is not polished, media that kind of sucks, media that's difficult to recommend, is media that does draw its idea to conclusion, media with an interesting concept that is very engaging to us, but which is technically insufficient, which has sort of reality bleeding into it. Like stilted bad acting. It's things that remind us that these are not the characters, but people performing a role. Mm-hmm. Usually lack of polish means that you have reality influencing the art. Things that we can clearly notice were going on behind the scenes. Like bad green screening. Things that rip us out of the experience.
Yeah, it's like wires sticking out of the box, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And a thing that I brought up last time is this can be used for good purposes, because we are very quickly to sort of assume these things that media tells us as true because it has polish put into that. It's kind of the same reason why we take things spoken with authority for the real deal. Mm-hmm. As soon as we see effort there, we think it's more true than it would otherwise be. Which there doesn't have to be any correlation there. So I think that's a cool thing about JREG videos, and I've only seen a few, so don't take this as a vowel of whatever.
I've seen a lot of them. JREG is personally responsible for me being as political as I am, because he was the guy that I went to when I went on my original vision quest to understand what a neoliberal is. He's the reason I'm a leftist.
He's full of useful stats. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some videos of his. I've found a lot of them kind of annoying. It's fine. Doesn't matter. The thing is, I'm convinced that the bad green screen thing he has on a lot of his videos is on purpose.
Or at least now it is. Maybe it was hard to do.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't at the start. Maybe it's just a thing he carried on because he thought it was funny. But the way I choose to interpret it, because even if I disagree with some of his comedy, maybe if I don't think some of it is funny, he seems like an intelligent guy. And I feel like a big thing it has, a big impact it has on the end product is that it has this impact in reality. You see the bad green screen. You see that this is just a person acting out a thing. It isn't a film. It doesn't. You have more of this. Oh, okay. This is this guy portraying an idea as a joke. Let me consider it myself, because there is this break. You do see that it's just a person that's badly green screened. Of course, you always know that it's a film, but it doesn't quite interact with your mind the same way. People don't interpret it that way, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a great use of this sort of disconnect, of this lower quality of bad filmmaking. This unwanted reality can be a feature of the thing.
That's a really good point, and totally not at all what I was going to say in defense of bad media.
Yeah,
nice.
I think Oro is talking more about using the construct, like the technical flaws, as an intentional feature.
The point I have
fake bad media
in defense of bad media is, yes, impressionist people would be more likely to take just, oh, okay, I get this idea, and the execution is horrible. Like Solid Shoe.
Yeah.
Baddie has interesting ideas.
One
but it
Punch
definitely
Man
is executed badly.
Yeah.
Maybe you got something interesting out of it. I didn't.
I think of media like the storyline stuff in old That Guy with the Glasses channels like Linkara, the Spoonie Experiment. That stuff was legitimately really compelling, and it doesn't get its proper credit. I really like that. I really like you see the same kind of thing in One Punch Man. One Punch Man now is popular because somebody else saw what could be seen in it. What's another one? Tails Gets Trolled. It is legitimately really good. It's just presented in a way that is kind of off-putting and bad.
Also, the old Ben comics, the It's Also Ugly comics. Funny.
Yeah.
Sweet Bro and Hella
interesting
Jeff.
points.
I think Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff was on purpose, but...
Oh, yeah, also that. Yeah. The things are difficult to recommend. And I think for impressionists, it's more, I get the idea. I can disentangle these things. It's fine.
Yeah.
Whereas the lexical mode of engaging with it is, have you ever seen these YouTube fixed videos where people try to explain how a certain property could be done well to actually do things correctly? Yeah, I think that's the lexical mode of engaging with just that. That's also because lexical people are not incapable of drawing the fundamental idea from a piece of media that is executed badly. They just have to go through this extra process of going, what would have to be fixed for this to be the right way of conveying this idea?
I do think they're less likely to engage with bad media or media that is surface level bad.
I think they're less likely to give it the time of day to do these fixed videos. I think that's mostly a product of kind of interaction with other people who can explain to them the point in a more digestible way.
That is how there's a couple of pieces of media where I wish the story was different, and if it was slightly different, then it would be good. My counter argument to a lot, and the reason why I call it being repelled by shallow surface reasons, is because if you took any given movie and you stripped it down in terms of production quality to the level of like a Linkara storyline video, would you still watch it? Would it still be good if you made are you really trying to tell me that Star Wars, the first Star Wars movie, is any good? Strip it down to Linkara level and tell me if it's still good. If it's not, then it was never good.
I don't, but I wouldn't watch it again either way. The polish doesn't matter to me. It's
Correct.
bad one way or another.
Yes, it is bad both ways. I do not like Star Wars. The only good Star Wars media is Genndy Tartakovsky's The Clone Wars, Darths and Droids, The Mandalorian's kind of okay, and
the Darth Bane books were kind of cool.
Yeah, I hear the books are really good.
Man,
yeah, the pre-Disney era books. There's a lot of good stuff in those. Not all of them are good. Some of them are really bad.
Knights of the Old Republic too. Yeah.
Controversial YouTuber sometimes makes me want to look at the video games because some parts of them seem cool, but not enough to actually do it.
I'll get to it.
And you'd have to play a game.
I don't want to get into a discussion with Tabak about controversial YouTube.
I have a couple of there's a couple of bad media that comes to mind for me, or media that's bad somewhat in a writing way, or somewhat like it's very sincere and very moving, but also like kind of cringy writing wise. The Bionicle movies, except for the last one, which is garbage. It doesn't even exist. The three main ones are good, but also bad, but also good. And then Alita Battle Angel, actually, I found the movie really compelling, and it's really it has a lot, like you have to take it on very different terms to really enjoy it. But at the same time, there's something so I have a soft spot for media that somehow speaks to me in some hard to articulate way that's so sincere and so moving, but also like I can see that it's very sappy and kind of could be written a lot better and maybe is using way too many tropes or is way too simplistic or whatever, but it still makes me feel something unique that no other media could, and that's why it's good.
You just reminded me that I really wanted to watch the Alita movie.
It is good, like and it's beautiful too in a technical sense. Like I think the writing is probably the weakest part of it, but it's still not garbage. It's just
So
it's got elements of like a Disney Channel movie, kind of like you know, adolescent sappiness, but it's very good still.
Okay, so I just saw a Disney Channel movie by the name of Avalon High, and it is like surprisingly good in a lot of ways. It sort of falls apart at the last minute, but it's really good for a large portion of it, and like I cannot recommend it highly enough. Because of the portrayal of the King Arthur, Lancelot, Guinevere triangle. That like I was not expecting that level of nuance and stuff out of a Disney movie. like this is a Disney movie.
Interesting. Because I saw that group which was happening, and this was, I think, the first one that I actively didn't go to because I remember having seen that movie and thinking it was absolute garbage. But that's a while ago, so maybe.
Well, it might also just be that
Maybe
your
I
tastes are
missed
different than
things.
mine.
Yeah, maybe.
If you want to watch movies with me, by the way, you should get into my Discord server, and once a week at least, we've been doing like 4 a week lately, but at least once a week we will all get together and watch a movie, and you get to have the Arch movie watching experience, wherein when we have something to say, we pause the movie and we have our thing, and then we resume the movie so that you do not have to listen to talking over the movie.
Speaking of talking over the movie, can we watch Who Killed Captain Alex at one point?
Oh yes,
That would be great.
I have that on DVD.
You do?
Yeah.
Nice.
And a poster of it.
I have never
signed
heard of
by
this.
the guy who made it. Yes. I didn't buy it,
Excellent.
my roommate did, but that is in my apartment.
Oh my god.
Can I ask you a question, Aurora?
Cool.
Can you at least name the controversial YouTuber? I won't engage if you don't want me to.
Koi bleep the name.
Okay. I am highly interested in talking about this person with you at a later date.
Sure. Yeah, alright.
Okay.
I mean, we've done so before, but only superficially because Vamp got very uncomfortable very quickly.
Yeah. Vamp has let's say a low tolerance for confrontationally destructive people.
Yeah, I'm aware. I just quit it pretty quickly because of that. Yeah, sure.
All right. Shall we get back to the show?
Yes.
Yeah, I had in the first recording, I there was something about Dark Souls, and you brought up like Idea Channel, but
Yeah,
the idea
PBS
that
Idea
you kind
Channel.
of
Go ahead. I want your version of it first.
it's something that's like very difficult to get through. It's like you get like nothing out of it for a long time, but by the end of it, going through the whole thing, it's kind of worth it. I think this is kind of the way I come to a lot of my favorite things is by listening to something or engaging with something over and over that doesn't do much for me, but I gradually start to pick up on more things, and it kind of grows on me and becomes like one of my favorite things. And I think that's because when you do that, it kind of stands the test of time, I guess, or the sort of re-engageability.
Yeah.
It kind of reinforces itself. So once you get to that point, it's like very hard to change your mind on it, where some things I am very impressed with right away, but kind of grow dim on them. They kind of,
Yeah. It's more prone to souring quickly.
Yeah. a lot of pop songs. They're great the first time because they're so like flashy, but then you realize that
Well,
it's all kind of on the surface.
I was saying earlier about like it was the thing I was saying about the most derivative stuff is like actually the most interesting.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that have like low content that are difficult to get through that like they're still unique enough that they prompt kind of a unique experience even through their mundanity. And by the time you've really, that allows you to kind of form a unique appreciation for them, even if they don't have much in them, because they still have enough that is different from everything else that exists that lets you stick your own unique experience onto it. And that is part of the meaning that you get out of it, or most of it, or all of it.
Yeah, there's like nothing else quite like this.
Yeah. I think like what's the term for that that's like the less charitable? Like, is it sunk cost fallacy, whatever? I think there is actually value in that when it comes to media. Like, just because the reason that you like a thing is because you've spent so much time with it and it's not actually that good, it doesn't necessarily mean that that value is any less valuable than like a good thing. It's just harder for most people to attain.
The way that you phrased it right there, I can see one thing that you might mean that I would agree with, but my example for why I disagree with it is, okay, so I'm famously against the concept of family. Like, the family that you're born with is usually evil assholes who are trying to destroy you or undermine your happiness, who are trying to confine you, and their continued existence should not be tolerated. You should get away from them whenever possible. They suck. And I kept wondering why this person I know kept wanting a connection to their family when their family had been so consistently horrible to them for such a long time. And they finally were like, look, dude, it's like The Walking Dead. I got invested in these characters a long time ago, and it sucks, and every new thing is a disappointment, and it is a punishing chore to watch, but I gotta know how it ends. I'm just stuck. I'm stuck
That's
in
a
this.
bit different.
Yeah, that is a bit different. It's not about necessarily how it ends,
That's
but
more
something
like a
that you
hook,
can go all the way through. Yeah, that's more of that's something that's kind of abusing hooks of interest.
I guess the thing I was on was like, there is something there that you do like, and you're searching for it.
Yeah.
And you're kind of revealing that as you go.
Right. What I want there to be is there's a really good thing underneath. But I'm just saying that, sometimes, such as in the case of family, there isn't, but you're invested in it anyway. Yeah. And it's like
I'm not necessarily I'm not talking about things that are detrimental to your health, whether physical or emotional or whatever, or mental. I'm talking about things like, I don't know, the people who actually enjoy Getting Over It or Dark Souls or things like that, where they take such an, if you're not really, really good at them, they take a lot of effort to get through. But they can be very, they can be very
like fighting games for that reason. Like,
they can be very rewarding once you get to a certain point. Once you've achieved the summit, you get it. You've done it, and it means something that you did it to you. Like, that experience is valuable to you because you surmounted it.
But is that a good thing?
It depends. It depends on the media. Like, and that's where I don't necessarily like an experience. Ultimately, all media is an experience that we have. It's just that, like, media that is generally regarded as good is more likely to produce that experience for most people or more people.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that the experience of having enjoyed a thing or found it valuable is less valuable because the thing itself is less good.
Yeah, right. This is Oro being anti-video games, most gamer-phobic president the United States has ever had. Again, but I feel like a lot of it is literally just rat press button. These are serotonin release machines. And I don't think, maybe some person somewhere got a valuable lesson about the hardship of reality out of Getting Over It.
Yeah.
But I think for pretty much everyone, it will just be a rewarding feeling, oh, I got it, loop that wastes time they could spend in an actually productive, rewarding way. And it's an indie product, so I don't think it's some mega corporation draining money out of you, but sort of a mode we've gotten accustomed to through that sort of media.
I do kind of agree.
And I don't think it is necessarily in the abstract good. I don't think there are any nefarious intentions on the part of the person who made it, but I just really hate video games.
That's understandable, but I think like you could make that argument to some degree about certain movies too. Like there are movies like ultimately
I will. I think every fucking Marvel movie you are literally just wasting time. Oh, flashy explosions. Do anything else.
I think I've never disagreed with you more.
I have found genuine value in some of them.
I have found
like there are ones that
in every Marvel movie.
I mean, I don't doubt it. They at least like someone is writing the story. I can't imagine that they literally put nothing in there. Sure, there's something to be mined from there, but especially something like getting over it or
I've never
jumping
played
on games. That like maybe you get some abstract lesson about life out of that, but it's unlikely and will be something very shallow about hardship that you can get out of any other hard thing.
Oh, it's this game.
More rewarding
okay, fuck that game.
Yeah.
I guess the thing here is you should think about why you're doing something before this whole before engaging with it a whole bunch.
Well, you never know. You don't necessarily actually know if the thing that you're looking at maybe wasting a bunch of your life on, and maybe it was worth it. You won't know if it was worth it until you get through it. This is the thing that I always say.
I know this. Yeah, I want to be clear on this. This is very shallow bias. I'm sure that people can play, in my eyes, worthless, shallow, waste of time video game that drains their human capacity for productivity and find a really cool community out of that inspires them to do interesting and cool things. I definitely know people who streamed games and gain something like that out of it, or they get something that I can't even comprehend because it would have to be that, because right now I can't think of anything. Maybe there's something I cannot even think of that's super fucking valuable that they got out of that. Maybe. I don't know. This is worthless. Don't listen to me. It's pure bias.
There's a kind of skill you can learn with different mediums where you can kind of gauge beforehand whether you're going to be wasting a lot of time with something.
Yeah, honestly,
I did not play getting over it very far because I realized at some point I wasn't going to get very far.
Yeah, be introspective.
Yeah.
Constantly think, okay, is what I'm doing worthwhile to me? If it is, great.
Yeah.
Fucking keep doing it. What my judgments on these things were is absolutely inapplicable to you. Just, think about what you're doing. I'm sure you can consume any media empty-headedly. Anything can be used for evil.
Have you ever experienced
don't
valor?
use it for evil.
What?
Have you ever experienced valor?
Valor?
Yeah.
I've heard that name before.
Okay, valor is like...
Well, I know what the word is, but
like,
I think it's also a video game or something.
It's like a competitive spirit wherein you're resisting something and it feels good in a way that no other... Like, it is its own emotion that is largely inaccessible to you unless you do something difficult.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what the word valor is. I thought you were speaking of a video, of a media property. Yeah, and I know what the word valor means.
Right. What fascinates me about it is that there is this whole emotional experience. There's an entire human emotion that many people will never experience in their whole fucking lives because they won't do something difficult. It's something that I get out of playing fighting games specifically. Fighting games are the pinnacle example because it gives you easy access to that. It's like stand-up comedy, but for valor instead of laughter. Because okay,
Sorry, I was just stuck on the sixth element of friendship, valor.
Might be true.
Valor.
That's Sunset Shimmer. Fuck.
Sunset Shimmer is the element of empathy. They've explicitly they've confirmed that in like panels and stuff, which I only know that because I go to conventions. Cool. Yeah.
That's cool. Oh yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, she's the element of empathy. Well, all right, back to my point. So there's this
Please.
You can't get
my brain is melting.
You can't get to the fun part of fighting games until you get good at them. And there's a lot of people who will not deem it worth getting to the good part, which means that they are largely locked out of one of what I would consider a basic human experience, and they'll just never get it because it's not something that you encounter in normal life. And the safest way to encounter it is in a video game, and one of the easiest ways to do that is in a fighting game. And people do not want to get to the point where they are good enough at fighting games to have the fun that I'm having, and I want them to.
I don't think that's true.
It depends. There are a lot of different avenues. I think there are other kinds of games. Like I think there are games that everybody could get. I think
that's
good.
What debate broism is.
Yeah, that's another example.
That is that's a good point, I suppose.
Yeah. I've definitely in the past written fan fiction against people. Anything can be turned into a competitive sport. You just have to try hard enough.
It gives me empathy for jocks.
Yeah, you're not talking about just competition though, right?
Right, I'm not just I'm talking about competition. It doesn't require another person. It can be challenge on its own, which is why...
Yeah, you can do it by yourself,
I think,
but it's harder.
I think it's also what people get out of Dark Souls.
Yep.
But I know that there is a genre of person that will never get to that. And I think they're more populous than you're willing to acknowledge here.
I don't think I'm denying anything of the sort.
What I'm trying to get at is like I think like Tarbeck is saying, experiencing that particular emotion that is very hard to attain can be valuable, even if the actual exercise that it takes to get that experience is technically completely worthless and zero productivity. Like you're just having an experience. Like if life is not just about productivity, like we experience things that have no productive value just because we're only alive one time, we might as well. You know?
Disagree.
Well, I'm not gonna. I have nothing else to say on that topic. Then let's.
I mean, I do want things to be intrinsically valuable. Like when I
but like I think those experience can be intrinsically valuable, is what I'm saying.
I think enjoying things is productive.
Yeah,
maybe not as productive as
in a different way.
But
all right, but the road that you took to get there was only instrumentally valuable if you wanted to get to the valor part. It's the valor part that has intrinsic value. Like the bullshit that you put up with to get there, if it doesn't have a value of its own, then maybe it wasn't worth doing.
Yeah,
I'm friendly to that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because I don't have much of a tolerance for instrumental goals or anything like that. I want the things that I do to be valuable without other context justifying them, which is why I'm unemployed.
Nice.
I refuse to serve the bourgeoisie. I want to retain all the value that I produce. So I would rather borderline starve doing something for intrinsic purposes than to make a comfortable living serving someone else's intrinsic purposes for my instrumental goals.
There's something I wanted to tie back to, which was the whole the skill of selectively engaging with things. Mm-hmm. I also think you should also do this with things that people consider good, like whether something is good or bad, like, you shouldn't just engage with things because other people tell you they're good. Like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I can only trust
Yeah.
my own taste. Yes.
Yes.
yeah, if you trust that other people have a good gauge of your taste and you have a good gauge of their taste, then you'd be able to engage with that. But you shouldn't just be
I'm-
like, all these things are like 8 out of 10, so
Yeah.
therefore I should engage with them before
Yeah.
all the like 6 out of 10 stuff.
Hmm.
Make your own good.
Don't waste your time with something if you can tell that that the effort is pushing you away.
Not even that. You should be able to trust people, not that they tell you what is good, but what is relevant about work.
Yeah.
That's part of
Yeah.
why I originally got into Trixie, because she was very good at saying, oh, this and this is something that this thing does. Hated it. Absolute garbage. Not worth my time. And I could read this article and be like, oh, this is something I'm into. I can watch this. If someone can shit on something and give you the impression that you would like it, this is a good reviewer. This is someone who tells you what is relevant about a work and not just, oh, it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
If someone can give you a bad review that makes you interested in something, that's a person to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is good, yeah.
Yeah, it's the freaking Fantano gave this a 6. That means I gotta check it out. That's a frequent comment he gets.
That's my experience of a lot of critics, actually.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
I like the things that
Yeah,
I like
these
a
are
lot.
the only critics worth the salt.
Because they're wrong all the time.
Yeah.
I like the things that critics like a lot, but very often the things that a critic dislikes, I may also like.
Yeah.
It's rare when a critic is able to correctly predict the things that I dislike.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do we want to talk about socks?
God, that was a long conversation. Jeez.
Yeah,
I'm
that
exhausted.
was really
Yeah.
good. That is gold.
Yeah,
that is
no,
worth
I like
recording
this.
it a third time.
Yeah.
We did it.
He did it, game.
It's the Dark Souls. We worked.
That was the Dark Souls
That was the
of
Dark Souls of
conversation.
Dark
God.
Souls of Neurotypeline episodes.
That's the title.
And I'm the one in this instance going, wow, that wasn't worth my time at all. Glad you guys enjoyed it.
Speaking of video games, programmer socks. Very fun to calculate.
Wow.
Programmer socks are human calculator. Apparently, fishnets and like pantyhose are both in Overseer, although
Opposite ends.
opposite corners of Overseer, mind you. And
Yeah.
fishnets are also like halfway into Fascinator and New Type.
Heavily dipping into Fascinator.
Yeah.
Yep. And then in New Type we got like socks that are extremely long, like really, really probably as long as you, that have been
Like-
like scrunched down.
Like
Yeah,
thigh-high socks
the
that
length
you
of
have,
your
that you're
calf.
wearing below the knee.
They're more like
Also,
they're more like pants pant
When
legs
you pull your pants down
that
and
have
make
been
it
bunched
socks.
down to your
Yeah,
This is a Rika post.
naturally.
Yeah. Sorry, Rika. I wanted to ask her for the first recording of this episode, and she was very sick with possibly COVID at this point.
Is she okay?
Yeah, it ended up not being COVID, so
Okay.
all good. She's fine now. And we already have a guest, and I didn't want to make this overcomplicate, so I didn't ask her this time.
Mhm.
But originally, I would have wanted to have her on this show. It just didn't work for the first point in time that we would have done the show. So sorry in retrospect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are continually punished for your...
Shouts out to Rika.
Shout out to Rika. You are continuously punished for things that were beyond your control and also happening in the past. We could have had you on this time, but I don't know that you would have wanted to have been on for 5 hours.
Yeah.
yeah. This is quite a bit.
Like 4, but yeah.
Over in Contemplative, we've got crew cut socks, but they have like some kind of cool embellishment on them. In this case, rainbows.
It's like a rainbow, yeah.
Around the ankle, yeah.
Yeah. Then we've got pink and white thigh-high socks all the way up to the hem of shorts or a skirt. It's hard for me to tell, but in both cases, I like it.
Understanding an
that's-
externalist.
That's understanding an externalist. Yeah. Then
Honestly, this with shorts is a hell of a look.
mhm.
That's brave.
Yeah, real nice. In the bottom left corner of Bookkeeper, you have just like ankle high black socks. We'll come back to that. I have the biggest disagreement there.
Right.
Then halfway up Bookkeeper and halfway into Level-Headed, you have like socks that are like the warm winter style socks. They're like knitted and they remind me of mittens.
Yeah.
They're foot mittens.
Mittens for your
The
feet.
ones you can wear over another pair of socks.
Yeah, that's the ones. And then Clearsighted gets no-show socks for flats. And that's our socks. And I choose to believe that Pure Instinct not having anything in its corner is because the Pure Instinct footwear is barefoot.
Yeah, originally my line, we're only allowed to plagiarize from ourselves. Fuck you, but sure, I'll allow it. Yeah, aesthetician impressionist Pure Instinct is barefoot.
You're running around on the beach barefoot with a bucket of boiling water.
Lunging.
Yep. You're drinking in front of a crocodile. That was a whole lost thing.
Lurching.
Lurching.
What's this about a crocodile?
Maybe I shouldn't, because it's a whole tangent. I shouldn't awaken Tarbuck on this one.
Please Photoshop this image.
Photos.
Wait, a crocodile with Readme's face on it and a bucket of boiling water. Is that what I'm getting? Is that what I'm supposed to say?
No, it was in front of a crocodile.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
All right, so to explain the joke here, there's this.
No.
No!
This.
Yeah.
I'll do it fast. So, according to legend, Anansi the spider. This is like an African legend, but I forget exactly from where. Anansi the spider goes up to a crocodile, and the crocodile is like, "Get the fuck out of here! I'm gonna eat you." And Anansi's like, "Well, wait a minute. We are brothers. I am a crocodile also." And the crocodile is like, "What?" And Anansi's like, "Oh yeah, totally. What's the test to see if you are a crocodile? You and I both know this. I will do that test and prove to you that I'm a crocodile." And the crocodile's like, "Okay, drink boiling water. Only a crocodile like me can drink boiling water." And Anansi's like,
I get it now.
"Okay, but I'll do you one better. I'll leave this boiling water laying out in the sun, because as you and I both know, since we are crocodiles, that when you put something in the sun, it gets hotter." And the crocodile's like, "Yeah, that seems legit." So they leave it in the sun for like 2 hours. And then he's like, "All right, it's been sitting out for 4 hours. And now I'm going to drink it like a badass." And he does. And then the crocodile's like, "Shit, man, I don't know that I could have done that. All right, you're a crocodile." And then he lets him across the river. And Anansi's like, "Fuck yeah, I tricked that fool."
Yeah.
By the way, it's not true. Crocodiles cannot drink boiling water. Do not kill a crocodile by trying to give it boiling water.
Yes. Obviously.
That's what was the reference. Anyways.
That was the reference.
How about those bookkeeper socks? Why don't you talk about those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Enlighten us.
I think that the bookkeeper sock is the same sock that they show here, but white, because in America, only boring people, like the pinnacle of a boring person is someone who wears white socks, particularly white crew cut socks, and
That's me.
No. I need to convert you to black socks.
Black socks are they leave stain like.
Yeah.
I hate
in
the lips.
the original episode, you said that this was a beacon to the fact that Rika is European.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
black socks and bookkeeper. Yeah.
It reminds me of when I was in college, and this guy was like, "Yeah, by the way, I'm from Germany," and other people were like, "I never would have guessed that. You have a perfect American accent," and I'm like, "I would have." Obviously, because and everybody is like, "What?" And I'm like, "He's wearing black socks." Only Europeans and me wear black socks. and everybody else was like, "Fuck, yeah, you're right." This only goes if
Yeah.
you're like male coded in some capacity, because women get all kinds of colored socks and it's cool, and they get better materials for socks. Like notice that
Some of them
notice
are
that
thinner.
some of them are thinner,
sure.
but it means that there's variety and choice and stuff, whereas men typically get just white crew cut socks, or if you're lucky, white ankle socks. The master race of sock is obviously the black sock.
Yeah. When
Black
when
belt.
when this idea was originally floated to me, 3 weeks or so, when we originally recorded the episode, I said that this is insane. The idea that people would wear white socks in their day to day would make me think that they are a fucking sociopath. Because like literally the only time anyone wears white socks is for sports. People wear like tennis socks or such. Those are white, that's fine. White socks are literally sports socks here. Normal socks are black. The idea that there would be any other color is insane.
It's exactly the opposite here. Black socks
Yeah.
are sports socks.
Or dress socks.
Or dress socks. Right.
That's what I think of when I think of black socks. It's like, wow, fancy.
Yeah, right. The idea of imagining a white sock poking out of like a shoe, that's just upsetting. That's horrifying.
Okay.
Are you telling me that Americans also wear white shoes? Because I'm gonna die.
No, I mean,
immediately.
yes, they do. They do casually wear
some of
white
them.
shoes all over the place. I went through maybe 5 pairs of white shoes when I was a kid. They immediately got disgusting because they're a child's
Yeah,
shoes.
Is this just planned obsolescence for stupid people who don't realize that something is on the surface of it obviously planned obsolescent?
Yes.
What
Could
is
be.
what
Yeah.
is wrong with you people?
We got colonized by businesses.
I feel like the omnipresence of white socks in the U.S. For some reason, when I think of the U.S., I just think like sports are just like part of the culture. Like just the average person is like not in like a everybody plays sports, but in like a everybody has their like home sport that they care about and they kind of identify.
sure.
Everyone asks you, "Did you see the game last night?" Like,
Yeah, like it's
Oh,
part
no,
of the
that's the
it's
same,
that
yeah.
sort of like American bro culture almost. It's like
Yeah.
it's kind of
I don't
just
know, we
I don't
have
know.
this,
Maybe I'm reaching, but it just feels like the way we
you know,
identify with sports.
Definitely in Germany and probably also the UK. Going by Rika for football or what you call soccer, definitely, yeah, 100% we have this.
Right, yeah.
That's where people wear white socks, and they don't wear them in other contexts because they are sensible.
Okay. So, here's the thing that I
Sports
was
shoes
actually
are white. That's fine.
Here's the thing that I was actually going to tell you that will ruin your experience of all media produced in the last 70 years. Every single person on all sets, unless you can specifically see them wearing a different kind of sock, is wearing white socks. All of them. In any American production.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
when Americans do the fucking German sandals with socks in the meme, they do white socks. That's definitely. I knew that and always thought it was really weird. This recontextualizes it, and now I know that they're just stupid and don't know what socks to wear. It
Yeah.
makes sense.
It's so deeply entrenched that white socks are the only kind of sock that most people in America can imagine.
Oh, really? I don't know.
It's starting to change now in the last like decade, but because black socks are becoming more popular because people are finally seeing the light, probably as a result of multiculturalism due to the internet, they're like finding out that black socks are the true way. But
Right.
It's actually gray socks.
No, in Mark Fisher's Capitalist Realism, there's a whole chapter about how people cannot imagine an alternative to white socks. I remember that now.
this is true.
This is a joke. Mark Fisher's British. She knows the way.
Aw, and I almost got away with it.
All right.
Anything else about the socks post, the socks chart? I don't have much to say
there's
about
a following
this.
post.
I hate
there?
the idea of socks. I want to be barefoot all the time. Socks are bad in general.
I actually wear socks with sandals, but I only own about 20 copies of the exact same pair of black socks.
Copies of socks.
Oh yeah, there is a follow-up
my-
post to this that is saying that Rika was actually neurotyping the concept, which may be obvious,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
she was neurotyping the concept of the socks and not the types of people who would wear said socks.
I'm going to speed read that real quick. When neurotyping an object, whether that object be a person, a fictional character, or an inanimate object, you're always neurotyping it from a specific angle. The most common mode of neurotyping I've seen is how does this character think? Another common mode I've seen is what neurotype would this object appeal to? These are very different, but people often don't state which mode they're speaking through. Early on, Beatrice was neurotyping Mumkey and said something to the effect of Mumkey's comedy is based on the idea that breaking rules is funny. This sounds like it was made for an impressionistic piece of media, right? B went on to say, this is because Mumkey himself is very lexical. He cares about these rules very much, and that's why he cares to break them. So Mumkey himself is lexical, although it's actually lexicality. It's through his lexicality that his media meets an impressionistic style. So is a Mumkey video impressionistic or lexical? It depends on whether you want to understand the way the video was created or why the people watch them. I made this post because sometimes I neurotype an object, and somebody will respond, I'm X neurotype, but I like this object, when the object, I was trying to type the object itself, not who enjoys that object. I think it's misunderstanding is pretty common in people who haven't discussed neurotyping very often, especially people who have only seen the Reddit. By the way, I don't really watch Mumkey, so my analogy might not have been perfect, but I think that it gets the idea across. And it does because we, being gods of neurotyping ourselves, have already established this all the way back when we were doing Urcoy's Neurotyping of Crimes video post.
Yeah.
Crime.
And obviously, the fact that experts get it means that everyone gets it. Obviously.
It means that it's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we continue on this one or on sock typing? Because I have more things to say on both.
Do your sock typing bit.
Socks.
All right. Sock typing bit. Socks super uncomfortable, or only have to wear them inside of shoes because my feet are a twisted and horrifying shape, and I will get blisters if I don't wear socks on them. But I would never wear socks in any other context than having to wear shoes around them, and I get rid of them as soon as I am able to. So yes, aesthetician, lower aesthetician, impressionistic appearance on being barefoot fits good, perfect.
It's like a way to... It's a purely utility garment to you, something that you wear because you don't want to ruin your shoes.
Right, but that's the thing. It kind of diminishes utility because I really like being able to feel the texture of the ground. Anytime when I would not necessarily have to wear shoes even from outside, I really like being able to just feel different types of concrete and grass and everything. Like walking barefoot makes you feel human in a way that few other things does. It's incredibly pleasant and just enhances the experience of walking through nature and through a place in general so much. It's such an increase in your textual understanding of how things work around you. The plot of capitalism is making you wear foots to alienate you from the reality of your surroundings.
I mean, shoes are fundamentally badly designed because they are not foot-shaped. The reason that our toes are all fucked up, like all of them, is because shoes are shaped for aesthetics in a way that does not align with the shape of a human foot. A natural, imagine you could have wild humans, all right? What do their feet look like? What does their posture look like? This is another one of those things that where it's Tarbuck primitivism. I want shoes that that don't reshape your feet like Chinese foot binding. And it seems like the only kind of those that there are, I think it's called a huarache, something like that. It's basically just like a little flat piece of rubber that you put on your foot. It's just like the barest minimum of of barrier between you and the ground. It's meant for like natural stride walking. It's like
So it's like a minimal sandal.
yeah.
Also, if you Google Huarache, make sure you type in negative or dash Nike so that you exclude Nike Huaraches from the search.
You mean Nike?
Nike, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Here.
They have co-opted the name, and that's disgusting.
Yeah, the kind of sandal that I'm looking at is like fucking. This isn't the video that I saw, so I'm not going to endorse it. But it's one of these.
That's like sandals back in like the biblical era.
Yes, it's like a biblical era sandal. That's what a sandal ought to be.
It's just a sole strapped to your foot so you can step on things that are sharp.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't even mean my toes. I mean, I have a not malformation necessarily, but a not super rare, but like 5% of the population rare genetic malformation of the heel that is just a bone protrusion there that most people don't have. Like,
Do you
it's
have
not
natural
that rare.
high heels?
A lot of people have. No, it's at the back of it. Like, it juts out in a way that the back of shoes would scrape against.
Oh, you have spurs.
Yeah.
Cool.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, like, it's not super rare. A lot of people have it, but it's shoes aren't designed for it.
That's really fucking cool.
Like, everyone in my family has it. It's genetic, and it's kind of common, but not that common.
I feel like I've heard that as like like people not being able to go in the military because of that. Or something. That might
That's
just be
interesting.
probably because you can't wear standard issue boots or something.
No, you can, but you have to wear socks. Otherwise, it's scraped
Right.
like crazy.
Yeah,
You get
but that's what
blisters
I'm
all the time.
saying is it's probably just
Yeah, like
for that
I
reason
have
or whatever.
boat shoes that technically you're supposed to be able to wear without socks in them, and it just doesn't work because a shoe scrapes against it. It's very uncomfortable. Yeah.
Well,
And the clarification on models post makes me think of different types of breaking rules. And I feel like there's the lexical type, which is you know exactly the solid, rigid structure where the rules are. You can break it, like shattering a plane of glass. And there's the impressionistic mode of having a vaguely defined thing that you're not supposed to do and doing something else because you feel like it. That's more like pushing through, stretching through a rubbery surface. It's more like leaving an indentation if you're just barely pushing it, same as punching a wall for the lexical mode if you're barely pushing it. And if you actually break it, it's a ripping through as opposed to a breaking through. The examples I had were last time where James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake for a ripping through the parameters the language offers you, where Wittgensteinian philosophy is kind of okay, here is the exact span of the rules, and now we're going to punch through it. Now we're going to shatter the plane we just constructed. It's a different feel of how these different types of breaking rules feel like, and Mumkeys definitely feels more like a shattering, a breaking of the surface, as opposed to the pushing, indentation, ripping through the gummy-like rubbery surface.
Gotcha. Yeah. Sometimes you break rules by breaking bones, and sometimes you break rules by mushroom stamping somebody. Just like take your cock out and slap them so hard it leaves an imprint.
Yes. That's exactly what I meant.
I'm glad I was picking up what you were putting down. Oh, does everybody remember my gimmick for the next post?
the last one.
Oh, yeah.
I am not sure if I do.
All right, next post. Okay, so I am now at the point, before we even get into this one, I'm now at the point where when I see convergent in a neurotyping post, my instant reaction is, fuck you. Like, I don't want to be ruined to stuff this way, but you can't be trusted to know what convergent thinking is. Stop using it.
Yeah.
All right. So he starts by comparing neurotyping to like the levels of abstraction in programming languages, and wants to make it out like there's 4 axes, so you can be both highly lateral and highly linear. Maybe as explaining away functionality. I don't know. All right. So brief description of the standard axes: lexicality, the tendency to think in words, symbols, codified sensations. And all right. Impressionism is the tendency to think in vibes and images, kinesthetically, and all on. He keeps.
I don't know if it's even worth explaining.
I keep scrolling down. I'm scrolling and I look at all of this and I just like pick it out a random sentence like abstract versus concrete, and I start reading it and I think this post is dumb and I hate it. Let's not read it. Let's just end the episode right now.
Yeah, we already had basically the first post of this episode and a different one from last episode that was similar to this but not like bad. So like we don't need this one.
Yeah, this one is bad. Fuck this post.
Look at it if you want to, but we won't.
We're done. Okay. If we select this version of the last part of the episode, do you want to plug anything? All of you.
The lecture about Ruby that I was in is out. I linked that in the last one. It won't be relevant by the time this is out.
The first 2 or so hours of it have been pretty good so far. Very entertaining. Recommended.
Hopefully you like specifically my contributions to it.
Oh, yeah.
Mainly the names of fairy tales.
Since last time Oro's video was out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a while for us, but...
You started making more videos out of your materials in response to it.
Yeah, I made the Twilight video, which is kind of bad. I would encourage you to just read the script that is linked in the video description.
I enjoyed listening to it, actually. It's the audio...
Yeah. I mean, if you just want to plain script read, there are some audio issues that I can't fix because I deleted the original footage and the thing I still have is corrupted. So some audio blips in there. The reading isn't perfect, and there's 1 paragraph lost. But yeah, there's a Twilight video that I made, and I just started recording some of my writings from the last 2 years. From the 2 ones I uploaded are just from the last year. But yeah, I've 1 more in the editing bay. There will probably be 2 more out when I record this, and I'm pretty happy with those. They're just... there's no images, just something to play in the background as you do something else. Readings of stuff I wrote recently. And I'm pretty happy with them.
And this is all in response to a video about being illiterate.
Yeah, Not a Vampire, about...
Yeah. Ironically named friend of the show, Not a Vampire.
Yeah.
Link to that in the description.
Yeah, linked in the description, definitely. Just, if you do any kind of writing, consider just reading it, because people have troubles reading, and it's always easier to just link people a video than link them a document. People don't read, even if they don't have any sort of dyslexia.
I love reading, and I did not read your script.
A charitable thing to do for people. Yeah. It's fun to do. Practicing your vocal delivery is a good skill in general. Still working on that. And it's a fun thing to do. So yeah,
I really like them. I listened to them while working, and that was quite a nice experience.
Thank you. That's very nice.
Oro has a good reading voice.
Very kind of you to say. Yeah,
I love his voice.
Thank you.
It's pretty hot.
Oh, jeez.
All right. I have a podcast show that I do with said Not a Vampire. Kind of in the style of like Vic and Hope or Digibros. And it is good, and I recommend it. Any episode that has a real thumbnail is one that I think is worth watching.
Yeah, it's a very fun show. I enjoyed it greatly. It's what originally got me interested in actually talking more to Tabak. We got to knowing each other before that, but that was what actually made me interested in having him on the show as such. It's a good show. Yeah.
New episodes by the time this episode comes out.
Hell yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. We recorded a session like 3 weeks ago, and I'm now making time to edit it.
I feel that.
Do you want to give us some spoiler of what it's going to be about?
Well, it was 3 weeks ago. However, we do a follow-up on the episode that we did about hair removal in one of these, because there was like, we neglected to mention anything about permanent hair removal.
Huh. Cool.
Yeah. I think we recorded like maybe 5 episodes though. So, yeah, there's a lot of material there. Look for it.
And I will just say, watch Alita Battle Angel. It's good despite being. I recommend a movie.
You make Alita Battle Angel?
Great job.
Then we really get some big wigs on this show.
It also apparently features Robert Rodriguez, who I grew up with the Spy Kids movies. So that was kind of a fun discovery when I looked into the credits.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If we're making media recommendations, I really recommend the Robert Rodriguez movie Shorts. It's really cool.
I don't think I've heard of that.
It is about a bunch of kids finding a wishing stone.
Kai, you got anything?
What?
Any
No,
plugs,
just
any
listen to my-
recommendations?
Listen to my music if you want.
It's
Yeah.
good.
That'd be nice.
Links to that, as always, in the video description.
I made another Outtaker Nightcore with Eden or Loveliest.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
that was
I
pretty
looked
fun.
into that. That's cool.
Yeah, Urcoy has a YouTube channel. It's full of various shit posts, music
Yeah, that's
related and otherwise, occasional video game videos. It's all very good stuff.
Yeah, one of the links that are permanently in every episode, but definitely check it out.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, if we're doing media recommendations, still watch Nana. If you haven't, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Agreed.
Circling back to early in the episode, watch Nana.
I'm gonna second that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I guess that's it.
We did
Let's see which snippets of which ended up where. There will be tons of outtakes for this episode. Sorry it's late, everyone. I hope you can sort of empathize with our struggles.
Blame Canvas.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.